Ramesh Loganathan is a professor, a renowned personality in the world of technology and innovation. Professor Loganathan, as I should be introducing him as, currently holds the prestigious position of Head Research Outreach at IIIT, where he plays a pivotal role in steering all innovation initiatives. With a remarkable career spanning 25 plus years, Professor Loganathan has contributed significantly to the tech industry. He has held leadership roles in research and development, both in US and India, showcasing his deep expertise and passion for cutting-edge technology. Today, he is here to share his invaluable insights on building products for the future. Please join me in welcoming Ramesh Loganathan.
So nice to see a room full of product managers. I count at least about 70, 80. Nice to see in that too, on a morning, 9 o'clock, which means you must have left home at 8:30 at least. And so thank you. It's nice to, I've always had huge regard for HPL, I mean the Product Leaders Forum, right? Starting with the Institute for Product Leadership and the forum, kind of two concurrent efforts. And I always used to tell them, like, you need to do more in Hyderabad. And so thank you. I know one event was done some years back, and then the pandemic happened, so everybody, like, I think just worlds were turned upside down. And so good to see it revived. And I've been nudging Vilash and others, saying, like, let's do more tangible events. Like, we'll do the conferences, which we should do anyway, once in 6 months or whatever frequency, but let's do more of the monthly events, and where there's more tangible takeaways that can happen. So we will do. So I think the idea was to have this kick it off, right? So talking about, I mean, product for the future is a very, right? I mean, always we hope we build, innovation is radical, right? Innovation is disruptive. Innovation kind of shakes things up. It doesn't always happen, right? If you look at most successful companies, like look at ADP, probably one of the most successful companies, but innovation is subtle. Right? It doesn't come and suddenly, ADP will not come and say, like, okay, we'll stop doing what we're doing and do something else. Right? It is like, it is very subtle. So innovation is everywhere. It's like, yes, a startup can come with a new product because they are starting from scratch, and they can. And larger organizations also need to innovate and do innovate to stay in business. We know what happened to Blockbuster. So they didn't, the writing was on the wall. It's a classic case study. Right? In the US, if you know the Blockbuster video, they were everywhere. Like a McDonald's, if you drive through US countryside, if you can see a McDonald's, you'll see a Blockbuster, almost. Right? There's hardly any town anywhere in US that did not have a Blockbuster video store for ages. Right? They've been there in that scale for ages, and they just didn't see the writing on the wall. And in just few short years, they had to shut down. Now, and few disruptions happened, right? If you look at the disruptions that happened that affected Block, and it was not all hard for them. Right? Had they seen the writing on the wall, given their momentum and their IP and everything, it was not hard for them to pivot. They could have easily pivoted. They just didn't see the writing on the wall. They just said, look, somebody coming and setting up like a small, there was something called the Red Box, if I remember right. The name was called Red Box. You could just, when DVDs were coming up, right? Blockbuster, you could get DVDs also, but here you could go new, they only had new releases. It's like a Coke vending machine. They used to have it in the supermarkets in the mid-90s or late 90s. And that was the start of the downfall of Blockbuster. They didn't see that. I mean, this was just a vending machine. They'll only have 30. If you go to a Blockbuster store, they'll probably have, like, I don't know, several thousand or few tens of thousands of videos and DVDs that they would have. The collections were huge. But this one had only 30 most recent or most popular movies, which is what trends most anyway. And you just go put your card and kind of pick your selection, and that CD comes out, you take it. When you come back, you just drop it off. There's a place to drop it off. Now, they were the first disruption. And then Netflix came. Netflix started shipping it home. Netflix said, like, why go to both were successful. I think the Red Box probably shut down. I don't know what happened to that afterwards. I left US, didn't track it. Of course, Netflix has become very big. And Netflix also pivoted, right? They started with shipping CDs home. Their innovation was to just ship CDs home. It's saying, like, you're going to watch new movies, and they had not a very large collection, and the collection that will move fast, and you get 2 or 3 movies at home at any given time. And there were such book clubs and CD clubs for a long time, but somehow nobody did the movies. Netflix came and did the movies. And then they pivoted again. When they were shipping CDs home, around the time US Telecom was going through a massive rejig, right? They had this like, they used to call it like 3-in-1, 4-in-1, all kinds of fancy terms. Basically like the pipe coming in carries everything. From your internet to your telephone line to cable TV, satellite TV, everything was coming in. So since the wire was bringing internet and satellite TV together, Netflix said, why not, right, on the same wire deliver movies? And they pivoted. I mean, they were reasonably large already, and they pivoted. And they don't, very quickly, they stopped sending any CDs home. And they still continue to pivot, right? A large company, because they're large, doesn't mean they were one of the largest. Amazon, I remember in the early, when AWS was launched, Netflix was one of the largest customers, because all the streaming was happening on Amazon AWS servers. And so I think innovation, it's more about looking for right opportunities. There's technology on one side, and there's applied technology, right? Innovation on the other side, right? The whole creative. I feel as a country, as an industry, we kind of lack on the creative side of it. Technology, we are good, right? I mean, we keep up the latest, greatest frameworks, greatest tools and technologies and APIs and libraries and everything. We can pick up very quickly and build, right? As an industry, we can build very well. We can build anything. I mean, today, if somebody were to come and ask any of our companies to say, like, can you build a Netflix grade streaming server? I'm sure we can build, right? It may take 1 year, 2 years, whatever it takes. And like, we have the engineering prowess, we have. But building products engineering is only a starting point. I always ask this question: if Indians in Bay Area can build technology for the world, why can't Indians in India? The backgrounds are no different. Like Ranjan lived in the US for a long time and came back, right? And many of us have lived and come back, right? And the profile is similar. It's just the environment, right? The environment, we don't think, so we're removed from the customer. Like companies like ADP at least is still in touch with customers. Most companies in India would probably never ever understand what a customer is doing. You'd get requirements, you don't even know who the customer is sometimes, or maybe you know, but you got the requirements and you start to build, right? You're never generating requirements. And that's a big part of product management, big part of creative thinking. If you want good products, great products, we have to first define great products. It starts with understanding what the customers are doing today, what they need, where the gaps are, right? And coming up with some, and that's a very creative process. I always say there are two types of product managers, right? I don't want to slot any of you, neither of those two types. Both are good. As an industry, we need both, but there are two types of product managers, right? One that are, I call them, again, pardon me for saying this to a room full of product managers, but I call them glorified clerks, right? They're bookkeepers. If you look at like the inputs keep coming in from field, from support, like engineering also gives a lot of inputs. I remember when I was in the Bay Area, product management was so weak. They could not say no. I mean, like if a senior director or senior architect, especially architects, like technology companies, architects have a huge say in very strong tech companies. If an architect comes in and says, look, this is the latest communication, actually was there, one such initiative. This is the latest communication framework. We have to adopt. Now, absolutely no business case. Business value was zero. The communication framework we had was good enough for servicing everything Inform is needed as a database server. And they still said, like, we have to build this, and the product management organization could not say no. 1.5 years, like almost 25% of engineering time was used to build it for zero market value. No wonder Inform is shut down in a few years, right? I mean, you can't spend that kind of resources on things that don't have market value. So the understanding, but then we need that also. We need to keep track of all things coming in. There's some minimal value addition that happens in terms of prioritizing and such. But the bigger part is like the creative process. That's why great products happen, right? If Apple came and said, let's build another mobile phone, they would have been just that, right? Another mobile phone. But that's not what they came and said. So they said, like, let's disrupt. Let's completely reimagine mobile phones. And of course, not that everything Apple has done has become successful. There are many things Apple tried that failed also. But look at the successful products, it's a super creative process. They said, like, it's not just technology. Technology was a very important part of it, but technology was only a necessary condition. The sufficiency was something completely different. Right? The sufficiency was to completely disrupt the thinking. Like, I mean, you hear this often said in the Apple context, but it's true in most contexts. Some things you can't get from your customer. If you ask the customer, tell me what the next new big phone could have been, I don't think anybody would have described Apple phone. Right? They may at most talk about some pains that they're having today. Or they may talk about some things that will be nice. It'd be nice if I can do this also. Like it would be nice if I can take pictures in the night. It could be nice if I can, some small incremental things might come. But nobody's going to come and say like, can you think of a phone with a single button? Right? Can you think of a phone with no manual? Can you think of a phone that just feels so different and fresh to the hand? Like, I mean, every aspect they said like, let's make it a piece of art, right? And like that, and that wow factor, there are very few phones in the market that came before or after that just wowed the audience, wowed the customers, right? Like Apple iPhone did. Like iPod did some of it, but iPhone just blew the, like in the US, I remember, by then I'd moved here, but I used to travel a lot. I mean, like, I used to travel at least once every 6 to 8 weeks. And I would see few iPhones. The next travel, I will see more. In no time, in less than 2-3 years, 9 out of 10 phones are iPhones. That's how much of the market they captured. Like, I mean, it went crazy. And that's because everybody was so impressed, right? The wow factor, that's what makes delightful products. The wow factor was so strong, everybody, you want to tell somebody, you know what? iPhone, did you get it? I got one. Like, I mean, that whole thing, it impressed the customers so much that they became the most vocal champions. I don't think Apple even needed to advertise. And they made sure it's not just the technology. Technology is only one small part of it. Very important part, yes. But not that other leading players had any less technology in their phones. Right? So technology was not the differentiator. How they packaged it, right? How they conceptualized what the phone should be, how the phone should be. Thinking of a phone with one button, thinking of a phone with one button would mean, like all of you know, you all understand UI, right? Thinking of a phone with one button could have been a UI disaster. Right? People have said, like, I just want to make a call. I don't know where to press. How do I make the call? You could have just taken the user into a jungle and then just let the user loose, not being able to figure out where to go next and what to do. But that's not what happened. They designed it so well, you don't need to know anything. You just go, it's very intuitive. How do you make a phone intuitive with a single button? And not have too many buttons. See, they didn't even trick the system. See, today, if you look at most phones, there are 3 buttons, 5 buttons on the screen always. Right? Though they say like there's one button, but Apple didn't even have that. Almost never even had a back button. Today they have, but early days, with that single button, it was intuitive. Right? You could figure out that you can always go back to the home screen. I remember my nephew when he is now 11, when he was just about maybe 12 to 15 months old, he figured out Apple phone. I was amazed. Like I said, I used to travel a lot. So I used to go there to visit him when he was growing up. And he would play a video when he was not even max 15 months, right? He could play the cartoon video he wanted. I was shocked. I just said, like, I want to see it. So I just took the phone, put some random thing, gave it to him. He was sitting on his high chair. He figured out that, like, he keeps pressing that single button, it goes back to the home screen. And he keeps doing it until it goes to the home screen. It doesn't matter where what you're doing, and it will take you to the home screen. The moment he goes to the home screen, he recognizes the YouTube icon. The moment he goes to YouTube icon, he knows that, like, if he scrolls once or twice, he will see the cartoon icon that he wants. Using 3 images, the home screen, YouTube icon, and the cartoon he wants. Every single time, I moved the cartoon around. I moved that icon around, and I gave it back to him. He could figure it out. Because he knew that, like, if it's not there, he does this, it goes up, he sees some more pictures. And he needs to do it until he finds a picture. And that's how intuitive. If a 13, 14-month-old can play the video he wants, you can imagine. I mean, it is remarkable. Of course, no, everybody follows their paradigm. But coming up with it when phones had big keyboards, like you remember Nokia came around that time, the Nokia brick. You slide it up like it is 4 mobile phones in one, right? And very kludgy. Of course, it caught everybody's attention because, like, now when you walk around, one of the most expensive phones in the market. But imagine Nokia brick came around the same time as Apple phone came. Just look at the difference. No wonder Nokia doesn't exist anymore. They just lost it. A company, can you believe, 100-year-old company that has over the years innovated, kind of reimagined, pivoted, just lost it somehow, right? I don't know how it happened. That country is still a very, very creative country. It's one of the most creative countries in the world today, right? In terms of innovative thinking and creative. But somewhere it got lost, right? But So it is just, and their whole thinking of a product was that, like I said, technology is necessary, but only a small part. It's not the sufficient condition for successful products. Technology is only a starting point. Now, from the single button, right, the few mandates, it should look good, so the way they packaged it, they said they were the first ones to come with a small, tiny box. Right? Mobile phones used to come in big boxes with some of them used to have manuals. They definitely have small instruction books. They definitely have fold-out instructions. Right? This comes with nothing, almost nothing. Right? And with a pin, it comes just to put the SIM. And like almost no instruction. They were so confident. It doesn't matter who it is. They can use the phone. Right? When you start the phone the first time, it asks for a few things. And once you do that, that's it. It is set up. Now, today everybody follows the model. So they said and the unboxing, the box packaging, the attention to detail that Apple had, right? The box was like from the color to the shape to the texture to the edges, how it feels in your hand. It was not like any other box. Right? Anybody could have done it. They didn't invent any of that paper or cardboard or anything. They didn't invent it. It's all existing. It's just designing it, right? Putting it in that shape, in that size. When you open it, the way it looks, the way the phone's laid out. So the whole unboxing was like, it starts from there. You're wowed, every step you're wowed, right? It's not just that once you access the single button intuitiveness, you're not going to be wowed when you play with it. You'll only be wowed like several days later saying like, God, with single button I could manage to do all this. You can't, that's not something you can communicate, that you'll experience, right? You'll experience the lack of it. With single button, things didn't work. The second minute you would have said like, this is crazy. But when it's working, it'll take a long time to figure out that like, with single button, I can do everything that needed like some 8 buttons in my previous phone. It takes some time to realize that like, I could do so much with just a single button. But the whole thing, the wow factor started from the box, unboxing, the phone, the way the phone looked, the way the phone felt, right? You turn it on, the UI, the icons, they came up with the tray of icons. I'm sure they didn't invent it. I'm sure somebody else must have had it by then. But they were the ones that first made it so neat. They said, since it's a single button phone, there had to be pre-packaged apps. Things that you may normally want to do should all be there out of the box, right? Well, they went and pushed the store a lot later, but they didn't start with the store. When you open the box, most essential utilities are already there. It's not just a phone. Now, so much goes into it. If you look at some of the products, we try to create products here, right? I mean, IIIT is an institute, research institute. Not many know that we are a research institute. How many of you knew that we are a research institute? Okay, thank you. At least like a third of the room knows that we are a research institute. Most people think we are an engineering college. We are not like an IIT, right? We are more like a CCMB. Right? Little bit like IISc. IISc is a research institute, right? But we are a research institute that offers undergraduate program. Right? Most organizations, research happens only through their PhD program. For us, for every paper that gets published through a PhD work in our campus, at least 6 gets published through undergrad work. Non-PhD, not undergrad, undergrad or postgrad, work. So we have a very unique undergraduate research program. So we have a dual degree program, which is a BTech and MS by research. It's a thesis program. They have to get 2 publications to graduate. And then we also have the honors program in undergrad. Anyway, so we're a research institute. So we're organized as research centers. We don't have departments. Right? We only have research centers. So we're organized as research centers. The faculty can be part of multiple centers. It depends on what the current research interests are. So we have research centers. We have research-led pedagogy. And we have research. One of our objectives is research that matters. Right? We'd like research to mean something. To the society, broader society. So we don't want to just publish papers. Well, that's very important. Without the research at the core, there's nothing to build. But we also want to build solutions. That's been an objective from the beginning. Professor Raj Reddy, who was brought in from CMU to structure the institute, was the chairman till last week. Now we have a new chairman, Professor Ashok Junjunwala from IIT Madras, the new chairman. But Professor Raj Reddy was the chairman for the first 25 years. And a lot of his thinking, he started Robotics Institute in CMU in the mid-70s. Which was the first formal AI research group in the world. And so he has 60 years. By the time they brought him here, he was already 45 years in research, like in CMU at that time. And so a lot of that thing went in experiences. So there's no departments. Everywhere its departments become silos. In India, it becomes even bigger silos. So no departments, we'll have research centers. And so faculty can be part of multiple centers. And so we manage research areas. And research should mean something to society was something that Professor Raj Reddy pushes a lot, even till date. We have a center we started in his name a few years back in the pandemic, where we work with NGOs to create emerging technology, AI and other technology-based solutions for NGOs. Because who's going to go build them a fancy AI solution or a camera vision solution or an LLM-based solution? Nobody's going to do it for NGOs. And we said we will build such solutions directly from kind of the front lines of research, solving problems they have in the field. Right? We work with NGOs, identify pressing problems which technology could address. We build it. It's an engineering group on campus from latest in research. Now, these are things that he used to push a lot. So we started our incubator in 2008, thinking you start an incubator and like professors and students will just line up to take the research work forward. In the first 10 years, we have had less than 5 startups come out of research, maybe 3. I'm giving benefit of doubt, assuming I forgot something, which I probably did not. Max 5. While we had about, like in the first 10 years, nearly 200, 250 startups come out of the incubator. Our incubator startups from outside can also come and work. It's not necessarily our own students and alum. And today we have had about 500 startups. We just celebrated 15th anniversary last week, 2 weeks back. And so we've had about 500 startups, and still not many from research. But so we've done many things. So if you just fast forward today, we have a product lab where we started that in, the idea was there for several years before, but finally we could do it in 18. It's an engineering group, we had to fund it. So it was funded by the institute, and with a product manager, the first person we hired was an MBA from Babson. Well, like all of you would know, many of you might know, Babson is one of the best places for entrepreneurship. So somebody who was working here in Qualcomm went to the US for MBA and decided to come back immediately. That's the first person we hired. We said, this group has to have a product manager. If you're trying to build products from research, without a product manager, you can't build. It's not just about, the second thing we said was, this group should not have researchers. If you have researchers, that group will do more research. We'll want to publish papers. We said that group should not have researchers, should have only engineers. We'll work with research groups if you need research inputs or anything from research, but this group should not hire researchers. So strictly no PhDs in this group, right? Consciously. And so it's an interesting experiment. We've had very small team. The team was at no point more than 6 or 7 people in size. We've built about 10 products. Prakash, we got somebody who was in the industry running research in Honeywell for a long time. When he left Honeywell, the group he had started had about 150 PhDs that was working in Honeywell Bangalore in that group, and then worked for a startup. So we found a person, very good profile, worked a lot with research institutions, and then he's the technology transfer officer and he runs the product labs. So now if you look at our experience in product lab, we got a product manager, we have a UI designer, we have advisors that we get, mentors from the industry who come spend few hours a week, few hours a month. Because we are building a product, you don't need to talk to somebody every day, right? Even if they come and spend 1-2 hours every 2 weeks, it's good enough to give good direction in terms of the product. And we've done about 10 products, and not all are successful. But these are all, we said this group will only work on products centrally based on research. Some seminal work or research work published, and that should be at the core. If you look at, going back to my earlier point, if Bay Area can make products for the world, why can't India? One of the key reasons is our connect with academia is very weak. The industry and research don't forget talking to each other. They're just miles apart. You can't even by mistake, you can't touch the other. It is like you have to make serious effort, either the research to come into industry or industry to come into research. They're completely immiscible worlds today. So we said we need to create this, since it won't happen organically, let's do this inorganically. Let's create this, right? Put in cart before the horse. And it's very tough, very tough. If you take the multiple problems, if anybody's interested, I can share. I wrote a paper based on our experiences. I wrote that in 18, based on IIIT's experiences. I'm very involved with IIIT for many years, though I moved full-time in 16, but I've been involved since 2002, and with startups and with products. So so it starts with, one of the products we took. It got this professor, who's also a current dean of research, in the computer vision space. They have two of their most, one is called CVPR and the other is called ICCV or something. 2 conferences where, as a computer vision researcher, if you get a paper there, even a couple of times in your career, you're considered very, very good. Jawahar has a paper there every second year, right? And it's phenomenally well known internationally, definitely nationally. And so his work on badminton, they went and took broadcast badminton, a lot of broadcast videos available on the internet. So they took broadcast video and built this model to recognize, after the game, it will give a kind of the analysis that maybe a coach would give the player. If the coach had observed the game for an hour, right? At the end of it, if the coach were to go and talk to the player, saying you know what, your footwork was very weak today, you were like on the lines, you were kind of bad, you missed a lot of points on the net. They would say things like this, right? Your backstroke was weak, your front stroke was good, right? Whatever, things like that. The system will generate that kind of insights, which is fantastic work. So that's the first product we took. We said, let's build it. Now, what we realized through that and few others we did at the same time, right? Research, the objective of research is knowledge creation, right? While they have a broad idea, they don't go randomly and do anything. Most professors have an idea, but imagine they went in this particular area, right? Badminton. If you hit an issue with not finding the right videos, you can reframe the problem. I can reframe the problem because knowledge creation, even if I reframe the problem, I'm still going to create knowledge. I'm still going to get my papers and publications and conferences and such. Now, real world you can't. So we took this and we said, we'll work with academies. And we said, we'll work with one camera. You can't go have broadcast cameras like in multiple 8 cameras, so we can't assume that. We said it should be one camera. Right there it came undone. The moment we said one camera, there were all kinds of assumptions built into the work that was done until then, because it was broadcast. Something as simple as a camera angle change, side change is seen as a point. Because it happens. Broadcast, they don't randomly keep changing cameras. They'll show from one side, and then when the point change happens, they'll show from the other side. And that's how all broadcast works in court games, like badminton. They'd use that to recognize that a point was won. Now, we can't, in single camera, you don't have that. Now, so just taking your real world you can't reframe the real world. If I'm building badminton, such a solution for the academies, I can't reframe how academies work. I can't go and tell Gopinath Academy saying like, look, you know what, we have this problem, we have to have the players play this way, not this way. You can't. I mean, they do what they do. Technology has to fit in. Now, so to understand the real world is a creative process again. It's not always like saying like somebody comes and says, this is my requirement, build it for me. We have another technology which is kind of getting a lot of interest, but they're struggling to find the right sweet spot, right? Both products came around the same time. We started working in 18, 19, and then they incorporated in 20. So both the startups are around 3 years old. The other one comes from the document AI. We're a very strong language technology group. So language technology, computer vision, and robotics. 3 areas we're very, very strong, among the best in the country, and robotics also among the best in Asia for research output. Now, language technology, today there's so much of noise on ChatGPT and such. The LLM work has been happening here for the last 6, 7 years. So out of one professor's work, this solution came out, which is like you can ask a question, and it will find information from large documents, right? You have any number of documents, it will find information from large documents. Now, this is like they say in the product world, like they say in the product world, you have a hammer and you have to find the nail to bang. Now, this is a hammer, it's a tool, right? A hammer doesn't do anything. Unless I find the right nail, I can't just go keep banging everything. I have to find the right nail, right? They say like the silver nail or the golden nail. You have to find the right nail to bang. So this is a tool now. Now, they are trying to find. Now, building the tool is pure technology work. Look, a little bit more than technology. You still package it. There's engineering involved, there's packaging involved, there's usage. There's some of that involved. It's a little bit of engineering, more than engineering. There's technology, there's some engineering, and there's some product packaging. Now, identifying what this can solve, right? A question answering system, what real world problem it can solve. There are very, very wide possibilities. It can become a virtual tutor, like in the education world. It can become State Bank is the first customer. They're using it for their SOPs, right? The 250,000 employees. They have a SOP, they have like some 20,000 one-page FAQs today. And they do that because they can't find information from their 300 SOPs, very large documents. So now they're putting this QA system there, so they can ask any question on policy, process, and such. It will find the information from those documents. Now, it could be for SOPs, it could be for customer support. Now, they tried customer support. The problem with customer support was, if I just find the information from an existing knowledge base, that's not answering the question. It has information to answer the question, right? To answer the question, you need to go into generative AI. The moment you go into generative, which they can do very easily, because if they can find 3 pieces of information that is relevant, they can quickly kind of massage it and create a nice paragraph out of it. When they do that, like which is the problem with Gen AI, right, today, ChatGPT, you get incorrect information, you get new information. And customer support, you can't give new information. You can't go and tell like Like my thing said, like there is some 4 balls here as switches. You roll the 4 balls and the mic will come on. Well, there's actually a simple red button here. Now that's the kind of, it generates information which is not kind of real. Now, they're figuring out, they're in the market very actively for the last 1.5 years. They're getting some customers, they're still trying to figure out, now that's a creative thinking process you have to observe, right? Sometimes you get lucky where some customer will come and tell you, like, do this for me. Right? State Bank came and told, do this for me. So they got excited. State Bank asked, so every bank should want. They've talked to every single bank. They say, often they say, no, our SOPs are not that big. State Bank is large. Our SOPs are much smaller. Or they say, like, yeah, it is there, but not such a bad problem. We won't pay for it, at least, right? Now, so when somebody comes and asks, that may not be, so it's a creative process where you have to observe and connect. So that is the creating technology products for the future, right? Technology is only a starting point. The observations and connecting the dots is a much, much larger problem. If you don't do that, we can't create products for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thanks for your time and thanks for a lovely, I wouldn't say speech, I would say besides me introducing him and talking about his tenure, I would also like to add, Ramesh, you're a wonderful storyteller. The story that you told about your nephew and Apple is really, really wonderful.